We've all heard about the Great Depression at some point in our lives, whether it was from an ancestor that actually lived through it, or maybe it was in your history class at school. This time period is greatly displayed in the movie The Cinderella Man. This award-winning film is about a professional boxer and his family, and is based on factual events from that time period. The setting of this movie takes place in New Jersey with the Braddock family. James J. Braddock is a husband and a father of 3 young children. The Braddock family was known as a rich family in that time period, but when the Great Depression hit, that all changed. Soon, Braddock was not fighting for just the finer things in life, but instead he was fighting to keep the electricity on in his house. As we've all experienced, especially recently from this big blizzard, that losing electricity is kind of a big deal. In the movie, they were also in blizzard-like conditions when Braddock's family lost electricity, but not because of the storm. They couldn't afford to pay the bills. You can see lots of homeless people walking around gathering things to help them stay warm. Families falling apart because they can't make ends meet, and kids being sent away from their parents because they simply can't afford them anymore. In the movie you're about to see, Braddock keeps fighting. He fought every fight his agent can get him in. One night, James broke his wrist in the beginning of a fight. His agent was about to call the fight, but James said no, he had to get the money. With a broken wrist, it made it difficult for him to fight, but he kept pushing. The crowd noticed that Braddock wasn't fighting as well as he should, and the ref called it a no contest. Braddock lost his boxing license that night and didn't get paid for the match. He is now unemployed with a broken wrist and a family to feed. He went home that night, wrapped his wrist up, covered it in a dark shoe polish so it wouldn't be that noticeable, and headed to the docks first thing in the morning. The dock is where most of the men went that were unemployed. They all stood and waited at the gate until the boss came to pick the workers for that day. Braddock showed up every day, and finally, one day he got picked to work. He worked the whole day, doing hard manual labor for little of nothing wages, while still suffering injuries from boxing. Eventually, the family got electricity back on, but they were still struggling. James skipped many meals and gave his bologna to his kids so they would have something to eat. They even added water to a jar of milk to make it last longer for the family. When James saw his friends being sent away to another family, it scared him. He didn't want to be given away, so he went and stole a slab of salami from the local butcher. James came home from work and heard what his son had done. He made his son take the salami back and promised his son he would never give him or any of his siblings away. Just when the Braddock family thought things weren't going to get any better, James got a second chance. His agent called and said he got him a fight. Braddock immediately began training and getting fit for the fight. He knew that this was his second chance and realized if he didn't prove himself, he may never fight again. The fight went really well. James got his license back, he started fighting, and then a really big fight came up with one of the biggest, toughest men to have ever walked into the ring. It was going to pay enough money for the family to get their bills paid off and get back on their feet. Braddock gladly took the challenge and had the support of his entire community and his family. Then a few days before the fight, James went to an interview with his wife to talk to some reporters about the upcoming event. The first reporter asked, "What is the first thing you're going to do when you win the title?" Braddock replied, "I will have to buy some turtles. When I left the house this morning, I told the kids I was going to bring home the title, and I thought I said turtle, so I can't let them down." The next reporter asked his wife, "How do you feel about the fact that Max Baer has killed over 2 men in the ring?" She immediately told Braddock after the interview that he was not going to fight because she can't raise his kids on her own. James said that he will be fine and went to fight anyways. The fight was broadcasted on the radio. There were huge groups of people gathered at the church, bars, and other people's houses listening to the fight. The auditorium was packed with supporters, but his wife refused to go. When the bell rang and both fighters began to progress each other, punches started flying, blood was going everywhere, and the final bell rang. And you just have to watch to see if Braddock brings home both titles and the turtle.